Hello everyone, this is part 7 of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Escapes to Kumo, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. The waiting period dragged on for teams 12 and 13 as teams continued to trickle in. Ruto made contact with the Sand team and had another discussion with Gaara, during which he confirmed that he would work on Gaara's seal during the break. This earned the Sand team's cooperation and tentative trust, due in large part to Gaara wanting to finally sleep. The AM team was the only team from AM to make it through, much to the consternation of Amy, which she vented to Ruto about. Ruto still didn't know why the Kunoichi was so locked in on him. Konoha Team 9 entered the tower at the end of the third day and Ruto finally got to meet Hannaby. Turns out that the elders already marked her with the caged bird seal and locked Hinata in as the clan heir. Ruto thought that the girl was nice, and it was clear that she was scarred by the seal. Ruto whispered that if she listened to her mom then she wouldn't have to deal with the seal for much longer, which earned him a tearful hug from the attractive Kunoichi. Hannaby told Ruto about her struggles with fitting into Team 9 after the previous Kunoichi died on a C-ranked mission gone wrong. Overall, the Kunoichi poured her heart out to a shadow clone of Ruto that was just waiting for Gaara in the cafeteria. Konoha Teams 7, 8 and 10 all entered the tower on the morning of the fifth day looking like the forest had chewed them up and spit them out. Ino and Sakura looked completely disheveled with sticks and leaves in their hair. Turns out that the two AM teams worked together to fight Teams 7 and 10. After the intervention of Team 8, they discovered the stack of scrolls next to Team 7's campsite and made their way to the tower. Ruto couldn't stop Hikari's incessant laughter when he heard the story. At noon on the fifth day, all teams were summoned to the arena that was located on the first floor of the tower. The Konoha teams were on one side of the balcony while the visiting teams were on a balcony on the opposite side of the arena. On the Hokage's balcony, Ruto noticed a big camera and he asked his mother what that was about. Turns out, after Ruto told her about his encounter with Root in the forest, Shina told the Raikage, who threatened to take it to the daimyo. When Shina found out that there would be prelims, I instructed her to demand it be televised. Fugaku was forced to concede, thus, a TV crew on the Hokage balcony. Ruto also noticed Danzo, two more old farts and a couple of the clan heads watching the prelims in person. There were also two 0ANBU hiding in the shadows around the arena, which the Kumo contingent wrote off as a normal protection detail with this many foreign shinobi. The Jonin sensei were able to join their teams for the event, which Shina was more than happy about. She asked Ruto why Amy was hovering around him, which prompted Samui and Mabui to pull her into a private channel. A giggling Shina returned to the squad channel and started to give Ruto a headache. Fugaku stood up to address the genin and began rambling on about the purpose of the Chunin exams and the importance of representing your village well. He told the genin about the supposedly random selection of matches and introduced the proctor, Shisui Uchiha. Shisui jumped down into the center of the arena and laid out the ground rules for the fights. It boiled down to killing being allowed but frowned upon. The matches would be over when the proctor calls it or when the enemy is no longer able to fight. Pretty generic duel setup. The board spun and introduced the first match as a fight between the great Sasuke Uchiha and Hinji of Am. The two contestants made their way to the arena while Ino and Sakura screamed their little fangirl heads off. This really annoyed the real Kunoichi, who promised pain or death to all fangirls. Shisui started the match, and the first thing Sasuke did was activate his Sharingan and smirk. You should forfeit, you no-name peasant. There is nothing you can do against the might of the Uchiha. Consider it a great honor to lose to me. Tayuya's whole rant over the team comms needs to be censored for the sansi of my readers. It left both Kumo teams bent over the railing, laughing their off. Ruto added to the hilarity. Oh no, watch out everybody. If you don't bow down before me then I will look at you really hard with my monkey marbles. If that doesn't work, I will squint and look at you even harder. Aroy couldn't help himself, so he added. If that doesn't work, I will sick my fangirls on you. If that doesn't work, the pink-haired on will pee on you. As soon as the match started, Mabui channeled lightning chakra to her feet and blurred forward. The audience gasped as Kankuro was split into 10 pieces. Ino and Sakura shrieked while the others paled a bit. Then the genjutsu broke and the body turned into splintered parts of wood. Kankuro could be heard crying from inside the bandages about how his favorite puppet was dead. Mabui just held her sword to the heaving pile of bandages and Shisui sweat dropped before calling the match. Ruto smacked her on the ear when she returned to the balcony, which earned him a really cute eep. She leaned onto his free shoulder and sighed contentedly. Samui said she better get the same treatment when it is her turn to fight, which Ruto readily agreed to. The next fight was determined by the spinning board of destiny and Tayuya cheered. She jumped down into the arena and waited for Sakura to join her. It was decided that she shouldn't kill the pink banshee, she did more damage than good to the leaf. The match began and Tayuya just sat there completely relaxed, waiting to see what the so-called kunoiki would do. Turns out she threw some weaker kunai, created 2 bunshin, tried a straight-up taijutsu attack and got a hard smack on her A for her efforts, which sent her tumbling. The banshee got back up and screamed how she would fight for her Sasuke-kun before charging in again. Tayuya drew her blades this time and blurred forward to meet the girl. She refused to acknowledge her as a kunoiki. The result of this trade was Sakura's top being shredded, including her bra. There were only minor cuts where Tayuya's strikes landed, but the real damage was spiritual and mental. The poor girl's shirt and bra fell to the floor and gelatin pads rolled onto the arena floor, which Tayuya stuck with her wakizashis and held up for all to see. Sakura was a crying mess on the arena floor and Shisui called the match. Fugaku rubbed his temples on the balcony and cursed that he gave into the pressure of clan politics. The comms in the masks of the Kumo contingent were indecipherable over the laughter. At this point, Konoha knew that they must have radios or something in their masks because they were repeatedly bending over in bouts of laughter with zero external communication. The next match was called and the Kumo contingent got serious for the first time. Their heads turned to look at Samui, who was busy snogging Ruto. After a pinch on her butt, Samui lowered her face mask and walked down into the arena. Ruto and company watched this match very closely. They acknowledged that if there were any shinobi in these exams that was strong enough to give each of them a challenge, it would be Amy Haror. It seemed like it was a common sentiment because the whole room grew quiet. Everyone leaned just a bit further over the railing and all distractions ceased to matter. The 2 girls approached each other in the center of the arena, both putting a bit more sway than usual into their hips. Before Shisui could begin the match, an interesting conversation ensued. Well, Samui-chan, it seems like fate favors me. Before I get to fight Ruto in the finals, I get to prove to him that I can best one of his chosen women. The overflowing confidence in her voice carried a weight that stated she could back up those words. Samui, for her team's sake, performed a rat seal in her ankles, wrists and chest glowed with a vibrant blue before fading out. There you go, Amy, I just showed you that I respect you as an adversary. Now, demonstrate your resolve and see if you are cool enough to win. Samui's ice blue eyes seemed to glow under her mask. Quote, both girls glanced at Ruto before turning their gazes to Shisui and giving him meaningful nods. The match that followed set the new standard for what a kunoiki fight should be. Amy took the initiative and launched herself at Samui. The Kumo group estimated that she moved at Samui's unsealed speed, around mid-jonan. Samui sank into her cat's claw taijutsu stance and counted Amy's opening. The girls proceeded to blur around the arena, trading punches and kicks, flowing freely between offense and defense. The sound of metallic knuckle dusters hitting hardened armor resounded for a full 5 to 10 minutes without slowing down. Nobody was paying attention to the time because the match was all anyone could focus on. Amy threw a mule kick, which Samui avoided by hopping back, and there was a temporary lull in the battle. Amy panted a little bit and a small blush appeared on her cheeks. You are truly a woman worthy of such a man, Samui-chan. How about we take this fight to the next level? Samui nodded at the request and both busty teenagers drew their respective swords. All males in the audience watched with rapt attention at the tightening of the fabric the movements made. Showing just a bit more cleavage and compressing the heavenly mounds in a tantalizing way. A collective gulp was heard around the arena and then an old man wearing a red hapari with long, white, spiky hair fell down from the ceiling and crashed into the center of the arena. The man was holding a small, hand-sized notebook in one hand and a pencil in the other. He was giggling perversely and had a nosebleed to match. Shisui sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. Lord Jiraiya, please clear the arena. This seemed to snap the man out of it. He jumped to his feet, wiped the blood from his nose and disappeared in a blur. Lady Sheena growled audibly at the man's presence and Ruto went over to put a calming hand on her shoulder. He watched the rest of the amazing fight while holding his mother's hand in an attempt to keep her calm. After the old perv cleared the arena, Samui and Amy returned to their kenjutsu opening postures. Amy with dual kodakus and Samui wielding a katana, wakizashi pairing. Once again, they engaged at high jonin speeds and an elite jonin level kenjutsu match began. The girls moved with a deadly grace as they lunged, dodged, spun and bent around each other's blows. A massive smile could be seen on Amy's face as she escalated the fight further by coating her kodakus with wind chakra. Samui instantly infused her blades with her lightning element in response, but she was at an elemental disadvantage. Once the blades were coated in their respective chakras, Samui was forced to disengage and try another tactic after her wakizashi was cleaved in half by the slicing power of a dual, downward swing of Amy's kodakus. Amy waited until Samui closed the distance again before she unleashed a massive cloud of purple gas directly into Samui's face. Tsunade, who was watching the fight at a bar in Tanzaku-gai, gasped when she recognized the poison jutsu of Hanzo the salamander. Samui was caught by surprise and inhaled a sizable amount of the gas and instantly regretted it. The gas burned her lungs and caused her to break into a fit of coughs. She dropped her kunai and fell to her knees when she felt a sword held execution style to the back of her neck. Ruto saw this and was stopped from launching himself into the fight by Sheena, who called for extra help from Aroy and Amoy. The massive frame of Ruto struggled to break free as Amy looked directly into his eyes. The smug black orbs with purple irises pierced through Ruto's mask and locked with the electric azure blues. Time seemed to freeze as a mental threat with the whole weight of Ruto's soul was given. Do that and I will destroy everything you love and hold dear. Amy shivered and broke eye contact with Ruto before looking to Shisui, who could no longer stay in the poison-covered arena. Winner, Amy Haror of a Megacore. Shisui called and Amy immediately pulled a vial out of one of her pouches that she gave to the coughing Samui. Samui downed the antidote and her coughing eased. Ruto slouched into his mother's embrace and received brotherly pats from Amoy and Aroy. The sight that greeted the viewers once the poison mist cleared knocked out more male shinobis than the remainder of the fights. Both girls' uniforms were in tatters, and they were showing more skin than either of them intended to. Samui's uniform was torn in the back from her right shoulder to left cheek, which was the image of goddess-like perfection. Amy had multiple tears in her bodysuit that resulted in a clear view of some under and provided a glimpse of very toned and sensual thighs. The results came in and Sasuke, Shika, Kiba, Kankuro, Amoy, Aroy, Chuji and Neji all gained nosebleeds powerful enough to make them pass out. Most of the named males received subsequent blows to the head to further their unconscious conditions from nearby kunoiki. After clearing the arena, Shisui wiped a trickle of blood from his nose, scooped the white-haired pervert off the floor and threw him back into the cage balcony. Once that was handled, he called for the next two contestants. Sasumi scoffed as she used a fire shunshin to appear in the arena and waited with her arms crossed for her companion. Ino sauntered down the stairs and prepared herself for the fight. After Shisui's signal, the blonde felt like she needed to say something. As one of Sasuke-kun's fiancés, I am going to win this match and prove that I am worthy of him. The prissy tone incensed Sasumi but she remained professional. Sasumi scoffed and remained with her arms crossed under her chest. Ino lost her patience and formed a loose diamond with her thumbs and pointer fingers before calling out, Shintenshin no Jutsu. Sasumi blurred a meter to the left of her initial position, arms still crossed, and watched as the kunoiki fell to the floor. She took advantage of the backlash of Ino's missed jutsu to walk over and place a kunai at her throat. She was promptly declared the winner before she glanced at Ruto and went back to her spot on the balcony. Ino came to a minute later and hung her head in disgrace as she took the walk of shame. Fugaku pinched the bridge of his nose and sighed again. If he didn't rely on the support of the Yamanaka clan, then he would cancel this weakling's engagement to his son. I hate doing this to my girl Ino, but when I thought about an Uchiha-ruled Konoha, I couldn't convince myself that her development would be any better. In fact, the only outcome I saw was Ino becoming more of a fangirl at this point in the story. Apologies to Ino fans, but I also didn't feel like writing a super long fight. The Kumo team's shoulders were shaking again as a barrage of insults about the so-called kunoiki of the leaf flew freely once more. That was until the next match was called, a match they were actually interested in watching. Hinata and Hannaby Hyuga walked into the center of the arena. Both girls demonstrated the grace and posture befitting their noble upbringing. Little sister, I recommend you forfeit. I was already chosen as the heir, and you should respect your new, lower station in life. Hinata's cold words betrayed the normally kind mask she wore. What is wrong, big sister Sama, scared to fight me in a fair fight? Hannaby retorted in a cold tone tinged with rage. Sheena shook her head in sadness for what her old friend and teammates must be feeling. She couldn't imagine being forced into Hitomi's position. She would have murdered every single clan elder before she let them put such a disgusting seal on one of her own. She couldn't believe Hiashi had pitted his twin daughters against one another, but this gave her the resolve she needed to get those two out of Konoha. She would remove the cursed seal and provide a new home for one of her best friends. Sheena gasped audibly when after a short Juken fight that Hinata was losing, Hinata was holding her hands in a strange seal while Hannaby writhed in agony on the ground. Lee was holding an enraged Neji back while Guy had knocked out the Hyuga heiress with a single chop to the back of her neck. Kurenai shook her head in disappointment as she collected her team member while Guy tended to a panting and crying Hannaby. Hinata was announced as the winner due to outside interference, but that victory cost her the chance of escaping this village with the others. Ruto held his mother's hand and squeezed it in a comforting manner. He could tell she was shaking with rage because of the caged bird seal and the fact that one twin sister used it against another. He asked Mabui to take over for him as his name was called to enter the arena. He jumped down off the railing and landed lightly on his feet. He watched the boy and his puppy jump down from the opposite balcony with a wide grin on Kiba's face. Well, Ruto, this is my chance to prove that I am the alpha around here. The dog yipped in agreement as it stood next to the boy's heels. Oh. Okay then, Kiba-san, good luck with that. Ruto said with a deadpan tone. Kiba growled before spouting off at the mouth. What's so good about a guy that won't even show his face in public? Those that chase you around should be with a true alpha like me. A dark aura began to appear around Ruto. Excuse me, I don't think I heard you right. What did you call my girls? His tone became dark and menacing and sounded like a growl. Amakaru whimpered at his master's heels. Kiba smirked, I think you heard me. Those that chase you around should be mine. I am the true alpha of Konoha. Sochi, don't kill him, Sum used to be a friend of mine. Maybe a slight maiming and fierce beating, but don't kill him. His mother's voice came in through his receiving seal. Ruto let out a slow, deep breath. Kiba-san, you get one free shot. I recommend you make it count because after that I am going to shatter you and that false confidence you're filled with. Kiba scoffed, whatever, mutt is the Inuzuka equivalent of bastard, you couldn't take a hit from a true alpha. Ruto sat on the ground in the lotus position. He looked at Shisui. Would you start the match already? I am struggling to contain my anger and I don't think you want me to blow up this whole tower. Shisui's sweat dropped before calling out, Hajime. Kiba took a battle-ready stance and waited for Ruto to do the same. What? Too scared to fight, mutt? Take your free shot, Inuzuka-san. If you keep talking, the price will be your life. Ruto replied coldly. Kiba tossed a pill to Akamaru before putting another pill in his mouth. The duo began to look more feral, and a small chakra aura could be seen around them. Kiba got down on all fours and jumped in the air, spinning like a drill along with his Ninken partner. He cried out, Gatsuga, fang over fang, as he spun toward Ruto. Ruto didn't move, he remained in a lotus posture as the duo slammed into his position before rebounding to a spot across the arena. A small cloud of smoke dissipated and showed Ruto sitting there with minor scuffing on his slick vest and mask. He had reinforced his body with chakra to the point that the Gatsuga didn't hurt all that badly. Ruto brushed off the scuff marks and stood up. That was it. One free shot and that's what you do with it. Kiba snarled and launched into another Gatsuga, but this time he ran smack dab into an explosion of electric chakra. Ruto used a move he developed, Raiten, stun grenade, where he condenses lightning chakra in his body before expelling it from every tenketsu. The result was an expanding sphere of electric blue chakra that originated from his body. The chakra ripped apart the hardened floor and slammed into the approaching Inuzuka duo, which halted their advance and sent them flying. Before Kiba could slam into the wall, he felt an electrifying and fiery pain shoot up his right arm just before his back collided with the wall. Ruto could be seen tossing something in the air before he destroyed it with a beam of lightning. Ruto looked casually at the crater in the wall that the Inuzuka boy was trying to climb out of. Sparks of residual lightning chakra would periodically shoot off the boy. Kiba eventually pulled himself out of the wall while clutching his right hand. I recommend you stay down, pup. I showed mercy by not taking your whole hand, but I am afraid you will need to learn how to use your left hand for those perverted activities I assume you're so fond of. Kiba looked to be on the verge of shock as he continued to cluck his right hand to his chest. It wasn't even bleeding because the lightning chakra cauterized the wound. You bastard. I bet your father and whore of a moth. Everyone in Kumo knew that insulting Ruto's father meant you were in for a world of pain. Simultaneously, insulting his mother meant death. As the words left Kiba's mouth, a wind-covered claw ripped his fur jacket open and left 4 deep gashes across his chest. The Ninken partner, Akamaru, lunged at Ruto, was caught by the masked shinobi's right hand before a burst of electricity knocked the puppy out. He put the puppy down by his wounded master and walked away. Shisui called the match and medics ran out to collect the bleeding Inuzuka boy. Ruto used a lightning shunshin to appear back on his balcony. His girls hugged him, and his mother put a comforting hand on his shoulder. They all understood how enraged he was, and how much he was struggling to contain that rage and anger. His Hanyu blood demanded blood from the petty human that insulted his mates, mother and father. Hikari pulled him into the mindscape, threw him on the couch and initiated an aggressive make-out session. She was turned on by his casual display of dominance and she didn't want his anger to overtake him. Now wasn't the right time to reveal himself to the world. Hikari kept him there, lip-locked for nearly half an hour before she felt his anger subside. He finished the session with a peck and nibble on her bottom lip before he thanked her and went to rejoin the others outside of the seal. Hikari collapsed on the couch in a panting mess. She wanted nothing more than to ravage him for 7 days and 7 nights, but the promise to do so in the real world restrained her demonic urges. Ruto snapped back to awareness as Omoi forced Shikamaru to surrender after using a lightning jutsu to disrupt the shadow user. The light broke the shadow tendril that nearly immobilized him and Omoi landed a lightning palm over Shikamaru's heart. The boy was immediately knocked unconscious and suffered a minor heart attack. The medical team would be able to heal him, but the fight was over. What did I miss? He asked the team through the communication seal. Gaara crushed the guy from Am in sand and the fangirl blew away the fat boy. Tayuya summarized. That means it is my turn to fight, this is going to be hot. Aroy practically shouted through the seal. Damn it Aroy, must you be so loud? Mabui chastised the hot-blooded male. Good luck, brother. Lee is a fierce taijutsu opponent, do not hold back. Ruto added while using his pinky to clear out his ears. Aroy mimicked the excitable Rock Lee as he jumped over the edge of the balcony. Both boys took up fighting stances, but Aroy held up a hand. Lee-san, I wish for a truly hot-blooded fight. Please remove your weights and I will do the same. Lee punched a fist into the air. That is most youthful of you, Aroy-san. It is clear as a sunny day that your flames of youth burn brightly. Lee then proceeded to remove the weights from his ankles and wrists and he casually tossed them to the side of the arena, where they proceeded to shake the arena and leave a small crater. Aroy's body glowed blue in the 5 normal spots before he took a taijutsu stance. Guy cried loudly from the balcony and Ruto heard the word youth mentioned 20 times in the same sentence. Shisui sliced his hand down through the air and started the match. What ensued could only be described as a masterclass of the taijutsu arts. Lee used the Goken, strong fist style and Aroy answered with his own taijutsu style he calls Flame Fist. Normally, Aroy would encase his arms and legs in fire chakra when using this style, but it seemed like he didn't want to destroy his youthful opponent. For a full 15 minutes Aroy and Lee blurred and clashed around the arena. Small shockwaves, grunts and the sound of flesh blocking flesh filled the arena. The Kumo and Am teams wore looks of respect while the Konoha teams were completely shocked by the display. The Jonin-level taijutsu battle came to a brief halt when Lee jumped up onto the head of the Hashirama statue. Yosh. Astui-san, my eternal rival. Your flames of youth burn with the most youthful brightness. I am going to pour fuel on my flames of youth, you should do the same. Aroy simply nodded as he watched the green-clad boy cross his arms. He gulped as he watched Lee open 4 of the 8 inner gates. He made a few hand signs before his arms and lower legs were encompassed in flames. The taijutsu battle continued at an escalated level. Sizable shockwaves shook the arena and caused my bits of the ceiling to break off and rain down on the arena. The fight left craters everywhere, fire and raw chakra clashed in explosions of dominance and the fight raged on at a ferocious pace for 7 or 8 minutes. The fight came to a head when Lee kicked Aroy in the chin, blurred behind him, wrapped him in bandages that were on his wrists and slammed him into the ground headfirst. As the dust cleared, Aroy was crumpled into the ground headfirst, and his flame armor was flickering weakly. Lee lay next to him, heavily burned on the wrists, hands, forearms and shins that he used to block Aroy's attacks. Internally, Lee's muscles were shredded from the intense match that overtaxed Lee's system. Both boys laid on the ground unconscious as Shisui declared the match a draw. Shino ended up forfeiting his match to Neji Hyuga after a talk with his sensei. He claimed that the loss of his Kikaichu colony was not worth this attempt at promotion when such fierce opponents would be waiting for him in the finals. Kurenai accepted his reasoning and lamented that the one good shinobi she had in her squad would not be joining her when she left for Kumo. Since all of the matches were over, the winners were called down to draw numbers out of a box. After everyone drew a number, Shisui addressed the group. The matchups for the finals will be as follows: Match 1 Ruto Maki vs Amy Haror. Match 2 Mabui vs Neji Hyuga. Match 3 Hinata Hyuga vs Tayuya Maki. Match 4 Omoi vs Subaku no Temari. Match 5 Sasuke Uchiha vs Subaku no Gaara. Sasumi Uchiha will advance to the second round. You will have 1 month to prepare yourselves for your fights. The more opponents you defeat, the more likely you are to earn your promotion. The tournament will start at 10 a.m. on the 4th Saturday of October. Foreign teams, you are allowed to use your designated training fields and are expected to follow the same rules as before. Now, you are dismissed. The genin cleared out of the arena, grabbed their things from their rooms and left the tower. The Kumo contingent grabbed Aroy from the infirmary and Shina slapped a healing seal on him. Ruto provided the chakra to heal Aroy before the group left the Forest of Death and returned to the hotel. They all met up in Ruto's room, performed another bug sweep, and then sat down to discuss the exams thus far. Shina led the discussion. Okay guys, good job thus far. Samui and Aroy, hold your heads up high. Those were 2 magnificent battles. Samui, there was no way to know that she knew her father's poison mist jutsu. That also tells me that she inherited the salamander contract. There is no shame in losing to such an opponent. Aroy, Rock Lee was on our list of prospects and is a master-class taijutsu user. To hold your own against 4 inner gates is no small feat. Great fight. Naruto, you will use your Kitsune illusions in 1 week's time to infiltrate the Uzumaki and Namikaze compounds. You will secure everything of value into Master Scrolls and set the Master Security Seals to absolute lockdown. During the invasion, we will detonate the seals and erase the memory of the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans from Konoha's territory. Why not just leave the security seals up? Won't it give it away if we blow the compounds up? Darui asked. Maybe, but I don't want my ancestors' legacy to continue to be tainted by this village. There will be no proof and it could easily be blamed on Orochimaru's goons. Kushina responded. What did the Raikage say about the exams so far? I bet he was pissed about that root team. Samui asked. Indeed, he was. That is why the prelims were televised. You guys put on a really good show. Naruto, be careful going out into the village. Inuzuka will likely target you now that you maimed one of the clan leader's children. I also told us to keep our guards up. He is sending Yugito and Shi for extra support and training, since Omoi and Tayuya won their matches. Ka-chan, what happened to Karen and that kin girl? Naruto asked with excitement. I used the break in between the Forest of Death and the preliminary round to extract them. A team collected them, and they should be getting back to Kumo soon. I will send a message when they arrive. Karen is family and that poor kin girl had it extremely rough. I offered her a room in our home after I vetted her. Kushina responded, softening her tone when talking about kin. Thanks for doing that, Ka-chan. Uzumaki's don't leave family behind. Do you know if Kusa bought the story about her death? Naruto asked hesitantly. Well, Ruto, I wanted to talk to you about that. This year was marked as the bloodiest Chunin exam in history thanks to your extracurricular activities. You did a good job not leaving traceable evidence, but you will be the prime suspect. During the second phase, 9 Konoha teams, 2 Sand teams, 1 Oto team, 1 Taki team, 1 Kusa team, and 1 Am team were killed with no bodies left behind for the 7 teams you took out. I wouldn't be surprised if we are forced to answer to the Konoha Council. It's alright, Ka-chan. I will tell them the truth. We killed 1 Oto team and 1 Konoha team en route to the tower. They don't have to know what my clones did. Well, aside from Team 7, nobody survived to tell them about my clones except Kin and Karen. Naruto responded nonchalantly while shrugging his shoulders. Alright, get a good night's rest. Training will begin in 2 days. We will train in the morning and then do mission prep in the afternoons. Good job you guys, we are proud of you. Kushina ended the meeting, put her mask back on and walked out the door accompanied by Darui. Team 13 went back to their room to rinse off in the shower before bed. Naruto, Samui and Mabui took a group shower that got a little rowdy. Naruto finally let go of his control and let out his pent-up lust on the 2 beautiful, busty kunoiki. It started in the shower for 30 minutes before moving to the bed for another 2 hours. It ended with Samui and Mabui smiling contentedly as they snuggled into either side of Naruto. The night of the preliminary rounds, Fugaku called an emergency meeting of the Konoha Council. Everyone knew it was about the results of the Chunin exams, they had all been watching the televised fights. The fact that only 4 of their genin made it to the finals made Konoha look weak. Once everyone was present, Fugaku led the meeting briefing. Okay, to start, the results for the Chunin exams were even worse than we projected. We only have 4 genin that made it to the finals. This is a public humiliation that I expect to be addressed. Each genin will be expected to train this month in order to win the tournament and repair our broken honor. I called you here today to discuss some unnatural occurrences in the Forest of Death. Orochimaru, the Snake Sannin, showed up and attacked my son and daughter. He placed the cursed seal of heaven on my son. I believe that some of the excessive fatalities could be explained by the snake getting rid of witnesses. In total 9 Konoha teams, 2 Sand teams, 1 Oto team, 1 Taki team, 1 Kusa team, and 1 Am team were killed. There were no reported survivors from any of these teams. An uproar followed this statement. Once order was restored, Shikaku Nara addressed the council. Deaths are not unusual during the combat phase of the exams. However, for this year to have a 420% increase in fatalities is concerning. Anbu teams combed the forest and were only able to recover the bodies of 5 teams. I believe the snake explains some of the fatalities, but I think the more likely culprits are the Am, Sand and Kumo teams. They displayed a brutal proficiency in their fights that point to elite training. They also seem to harbor no love for the leaf, so I do not believe they would spare any teams they came across. Soom was growling at the thought. What did forensic evidence pull up? Danzo spoke. Well, due to an early encounter between my route and one Rutomaki, we were forced to pull the Anbu teams out until the 5-day period ended. By the time we found the battle sites, there was no evidence left on most of them. A couple of the sites indicate a Kaiten jutsu was used to burn the bodies. Once again, there is no distinct pattern to this. The battle sites were too numerous and spread out to blame it on a single team. Fugaku looked pensive. My daughter reported that Rutomaki saved her team from the Snake Sannin and took them to their campsite. Ruto provided medical treatment and safety to Team 7 while Sasuke was recovering from the cursed seal. Testimony from Sakura Haruno says that she was saved by a clone team made by Rutomaki. Ruto said that he felt a massive surge of chakra and sent clones to investigate. Shibi Aburame spoke. It is interesting that he would save that team. Didn't they encounter Kumo Team 12 during the wave mission? Yes, they did. Sasumi seemed to hold a high opinion of Rutomaki. What does everyone think about this? Fugaku asked. Mibui Haruno spoke up. Well, it is obvious that he is infatuated with either my daughter or yours, Hokage-sama. The way he treats the 2 kunoiki on his team tells me that he is open to polygamy. Perhaps a marriage contract could work to our benefit. Fugaku mulled that over for a bit before Shikaku spoke. Hokage-sama, his behavior is an anomaly. The Kumo team caught onto our attempts to spy on them, poison them, and they haven't given us much to go on. The confrontation between Ruto and Root indicates that the boy is highly skilled. Witnesses say that his aura and ki are of almost Kage, if not elite Jonin, level. I believe that Ruto Maki treats us as hostiles. Of course, securing a marriage contract would be the best thing for Konoha, but I have my doubts if he would accept it. Shikaku sat down and promptly fell asleep after saying his piece. One civilian counselor spoke up. Why would they possibly refuse a marriage contract from the greatest shinobi village? Hiashi spoke up here. The question you should be asking is why would they accept a marriage contract from us? In recent years, Kumo's influence has grown exponentially in Kaminari no Kuni. I believe the Maki family brought in new ideas that completely flipped the status quo on its head. We know that they made significant changes to the academy. Reports say they are using ninjas to help with agriculture, and the most obvious example is their fuinjutsu. Danzo spoke up in a frustrated voice. For the past 9 years, my spies and Jiraiya's spies have been picked off one by one every time they enter the lightning capital or Kumo. I declared it a black zone nearly 5 years ago. We couldn't keep sustaining losses at the rate we were. Fugaku finally lifted his chin off of his hands. So, you believe it was the Maki family that made all the difference? I have no doubt of that. Shikaku pitched in once again. That damned brat. He ruined my son. He took his right thumb and incinerated it. Soom growled. Soom, we were all watching the match. He could have done far worse, and he would have done far less if Kiba didn't run off at the mouth. Inoiki Yamanaka finally spoke up. Inoiki, what kind of psyche profile have you been able to build on this Ruto Maki? Elder Homura asked. Well, he is the definition of an alpha male. His posture suggests that those two girls are his girlfriends. He is very protective of them and his whole team. This indicates that he is family and friend-oriented. His exhibition in the first stage of the exams indicates a high level of confidence and mental strength. I have never seen a Biki defeated in a battle of wits before. We believe the shadow clones that disrupted the exam were his, but even after reviewing the footage, we couldn't prove it. This indicates that he enjoys mental warfare, and he likes a challenge. His choice of females indicates that he wants an A-type female who will call him on his B. Forgive me for saying this, Counselor Haruno, but your daughter is completely incompatible with him. We haven't been able to observe much more than that, but the way he approached the fight with Kiba was unique. In the beginning, he was going to simply win and get it over with. He seemed to respond to two things: the threatening of his women and the demeaning of his parents. I believe that last one is why your son lost his thumb, Soom-san. That is all I have for now, Hokage-sama. Thank you, Inoiki. One more question. Of our females, which one would have the greatest odds of securing a marriage proposal? Fugaku asked. Your daughter Itachi would be my first choice. Next would be Sasumi. Inoiki kept his reply simple and professional. The earned outrage from the civilian council. We could never let the Sharingan get into enemy hands. Fugaku flared his ki and restored order. I tend to agree with the civilian council on this. The Sharingan cannot be allowed outside of the village. Hiashi spoke up. I could offer my daughter Hannaby. She is a somewhat competent kunoichi, and the caged bird seal will prevent the Byakugan from leaving Konoha. Shikaku deadpanned. So, you want to offer the Byakugan to a family of seal masters while thinking that your family's seal would protect the Dujutsu? Hiashi looked visibly flustered from his mistake before a random civilian asked a stupid question. If this family is such a threat, why don't we just kill them? Danzo responded with a growl. Due to our previous attempts to hinder them, the Raikage laid out a direct threat to us. Kumo and Kaminari no Kuno will go to war with Hai no Kuni and Konoha if one more act of aggression is uncovered. The Fire Daimyo has given explicit orders to incite them no further. Kumo's forces are equal to our own, if not greater. If war came at this time, we would be hard-pressed to win. Kumo possesses the 8 tails and 2 tails, both of which can fully transform into their Biju. They match our numbers, and if their new education reforms have been applied to their shinobi ranks, then it is likely that they would beat us. Even if we won the war, we would lose because Iwa would finally take its revenge on us. Not to mention Kiri would back Kumo as well. The odds are stacked against us, and it would be folly to provoke a war. Shikaku broke it down and shut the civilians up. Fugaku sighed. We really must avoid conflict at this time. When we can properly handle the Jinchuriki, we will be able to exert our will on them once more. For now, we must play nice. I want each of you to write out formal proposals, explain your reasoning and have them on my desk by the end of the day tomorrow. We will request an audience with Lady Sheena and Ruto after we decide on the best course of action. Soon left the meeting with a massive scowl on her face. She snarled at everyone she crossed while thinking about Ruto. The damned kid maimed her son, admittedly the pup deserved it, but he still maimed her son. Now, she is being denied her hunt because of politics. Weak-willed men and their fancy words complicate things that should be very simple. Life for a life, eye for an eye. She would avenge her son, she just had to bide her time. 1 week into the training break, Ruto was having a full-speed kenjutsu fight with his mother. Unfortunately, his mother refused to let him use his greatsword and forced him into using his katana. The reason for this was simple: when Ruto used his greatsword he broke too many of his mother's precious swords. After the morning warm-up, the kenjutsu spars began. Sheena, being the crafty woman she is, would make Ruto do intense physical exercises in between each battle. She could still best her son, but it was getting tougher and tougher to do so. She had lost count of how many training swords they went through during their spars, but it was at least a couple hundred this year. She watched Ruto finish his weighted run around Konoha. For these runs, Sheena cranked Ruto's weights up 1.5 times what he normally walked around with. That meant each arm weighed 450 pounds, his vest weighed 600 pounds, his legs weighed 600 pounds apiece. It required significant chakra reinforcement to handle the added weight to his body. Then the resistance seal being raised from 4.5 to 6 was the equivalent of making Ruto's whole body feel like moving through a muddy swamp for even the simplest of movements. Each run around Konoha took nearly 1/10 of his chakra reserves and he had already lost 6 kenjutsu spars that morning alone. Ruto adjusted his seals back down and collapsed onto his back, panting heavily. You are, pant, evil, Karchan. Sheena laughed merrily as she poked Ruto with one of her scabbards. He, I am doing this for you, Ruto-kun. She looked up suddenly and saw an Anbu is a weasel mask standing outside of the barrier. She made a hand sign and let the Anbu enter but locked the two behind her outside the barrier. Itachi-chan, it is good to see you again. Lady Sheena. Itachi bowed politely. My father and the council seek an audience with the two of you. Any idea what it is about? Sheena asked with her hands on her hips. Itachi shook her head negatively. Okay then. Itachi-chan, I don't want to rush you, but are you, your mother and Sasumi ready? Yes, Lady Sheena, Shisui is as well. Preparations have been made. The blood clones are sealed away in scrolls, and we have packed up what we could afford to without raising suspicion. I do not wish to raise suspicions, so I will take my leave. The council meeting is scheduled for 2 p.m. They watched Itachi leave the barrier and saw her rejoin the two Anbu. They finished up the training before returning to the hotel and grabbing a shower. They shared lunch together, updated the team and then set out for the council chamber. They walked in to see the full council assembled and they walked into the center of the room. Fugaku rose and addressed them. Lady Sheena and Ruto Maki, thank you for joining us today. We have called you here to clear up a few things that happened in the Forest of Death, and the other thing is more personal in nature. For starters, I will let Councillor Danzo take the floor. Ruto Maki, after confronting my ANBU in the forest, could you please explain what happened for the rest of your stay in the forest? Am I under any obligation to answer your questions? No, my boy. We simply wish to get a better understanding of what happened. You see, there were an unusually high number of fatalities this year and we are conducting an investigation into it. We believe that the snake Sanin is the cause, but we need more proof. Ruto cringed when Danzo called him his boy. Ruto smirked deviously underneath his mask. It was time to divert their attention. Well, I guess I should thank you for positioning my team at gate 42. Those giant, jumping spiders were a good warm-up. Then, we came across a Konoha team meeting with the Oto team. They were talking about attacking the Uchiha siblings, so I ordered my team to kill them. Kabuto Yakushi is a spy and he worked for Orochimaru. I sent him to the snake with a message to leave Sasumi Uchiha alone. It seems the snake received my message in time. After killing those two teams and getting their scrolls, my team set out for our rendezvous point. I was setting up security around our campsite when I felt larger than normal chakra spike. I sent a clone team to investigate. My clones arrived right after the snake bit Sasuke, and he scurried off. My clones secured Team 7 and brought him to the rendezvous point. My team and I provided security so that they could recover in peace. I left them the scroll they needed before we set out for the tower. That was the end of my time in the forest. The eyes of the council continued to widen at each revelation. Fugaku called down the Anbu. Sweep the village for Kabuto Yakushi. He is to be captured and brought in for interrogation. The Anbu bowed and left. Thank you for the information, Ruto-san. Why didn't you bring this up with an exam proctor? Quite frankly, Hokage Dono, I do not trust you or the proctors. I am sure this council is aware of why. I figured that it wasn't my business, so I didn't stick my nose where it didn't belong. Ruto's tone was flat and deadpanned. Some civilians spoke out of turn. You know, boy, you should address your elders with respect, and it is common courtesy to remove your mask when in the presence of your betters. Sheena flared her aura and knocked the civilian unconscious. Let me be clear, we are here out of courtesy. You are not our betters, you are not our leaders, you are nothing to us. One more outburst like that and we will walk right out of here. Fugaku stood up and glared at the civilian council. My apologies, Lady Sheena. That councillor will be reprimanded for his actions. Anbu, take him away so he disturbs this meeting no further. Shikaku stood up to ask a question. At Sheena's nod, he spoke. Ruto, you are a mystery to me. I would like to know why you went out of your way to save Sasumi Uchiha and her teammates by proxy. That is easy, Shikaku-san. Sasumi was the only one that made a good impression on me in Wave. She is strong, humble and eager to learn. The exact opposite of her brother. I saved the other two because I wished to see Sasumi advance to further evaluate her strength and character. Do have fun putting your puzzle together, Shikaku-san. Ruto replied casually and his voice gained a bit of mirth for his last jibe. The Shinobi Council snickered. It was common knowledge how obsessive Naris were when they were trying to understand something. Fugaku decided to take it from there. Do you have a romantic interest in my daughter? You have been seen acting intimately with your two teammates, so that makes me want to ask why you would be so interested. You misunderstand, Hokage Dono. I have a bloodline that Kumo wishes to propagate. It is not my intention to court kunoichi from foreign villages. As hard as it is to believe, I want to understand how a person, and Uchiha at that, can live in a proud village and clan and still come out humble. Much like the Nara, I simply wish to understand. Nothing more, nothing less. The whole council perked up at the word bloodline. Of course it was Danzo that forced the issue. Oh, and what bloodline would be so important to Kumo that they would allow you multiple partners? Wouldn't you like to know? Ruto shot back calmly and casually, completely ready for the question. Ruto-san, you are our guest, but I would advise you to address us with the same courtesy we are giving you. Ruto bowed politely. Forgive me, Hokage Dono. That old warhawk and his band of emotionless mercenaries has rubbed me the wrong way on more than one occasion. Anoiki picked up on that. Care to explain, Ruto-san? Ruto looked to Sheena, who nodded, and then he turned to address the council. Hikari smirked as she watched the show play out. Certainly, Anoiki-san. Let us start in Kiri. Now, I do not blame a nation for getting involved in foreign affairs, but when said involvement supports genocide, I tend to frown upon it. When the express purpose of said involvement is kidnapping innocents from the native countries to turn into emotionless drones, then it begins to incite my rage. Finally, when said emotionless drones raise weapons against the people I love, then they become enemies. Make no mistake, Danzo-san, you are marked as the last category. My second encounter with NE or Root or whatever they are officially called was in Wave. Once again, Danzo supports a tyrant that was unlawfully enslaving a nation and oppressing its people. I have physical proof of this, but it is my speculation that he also assisted Gato in the assassination of Wave's previous daimyo. The newly elected daimyo of Wave agrees with me on this. Finally, we get to recent events where my team has destroyed a total of 14 listening devices. I hope the Root can handle some simple hearing problems. Naruto paused here to snigger. I digress, then my team is almost poisoned at a public restaurant on one of our first nights in Konoha. I took samples to confirm that it was a chakra-dampening poison. Then, my little run-in with Root in the second phase of the exams that was in direct violation of international law. So, Council of Konoha, should I be happy to be in the same room as that decrepit bag of evil bones? Ruto finished by pointing a finger directly at Danzo. The whole Konoha council was stunned while Fugaku and Danzo were infuriated. This boy basically said that he single-handedly foiled 2 of their foreign operations, and Fugaku must publicly condemn his partner or risk losing face with the Konoha council. The first to speak was Hiruzen Sarutobi. It doesn't surprise me. Minato and I always curbed Danzo's worst actions, but it seems he has gotten out of hand. My apologies to you and your teammates, Ruto-san. Your actions reflect well upon yourselves and Kumo. Thank you, Sarutobi-sama. I have taught them well and I am most pleased with the results. Tell me, would you like to try a prototype prosthetic that would let you regain use of your right arm? The Maki clan always held you in high regards and it would bring joy to my heart to help one of the good guys remaining in this shinobi world. Hiruzen looked genuinely shocked. It would be a great honor, Lady Shina. I would be in your debt, a debt I would be sure to pay. Hiruzen ended with a bow. Fugaku let it happen because he would want to analyze it for his own purposes. Very well, I will send you an invite to Kumo where we will construct it for you once these exams are finished. Back to the issue at hand, Hokage Dono, Kumo condemns Danzo's actions, but we have abstained from publishing our proof in order to honor our non-aggression pact. Should that pact be violated by the co-signer, then we may change our views on such a thing. The subliminal threat was not hidden, it was blatantly obvious, and Fugaku would have to sit there and take it. We thank you for your discretion, Lady Shina. We intended on promoting our partnership with Kumo, which brings us to the next point of discussion. Konoha is proposing a marriage contract between Ruto Maki and Hinata Hyuga. Due to the nature of the Byakugan, they would reside in Konoha with dual citizenship. This is still in negotiations, but what are your opening thoughts? I unequivocally decline. Ruto responded forcefully. Hiashi took offense to this, he is offering his clan heir. So, he gritted his teeth and hid his malice when he asked, might I inquire as to why? My daughter is the heir to one of the most prestigious clans in Konoha. Hiashi-san, may I ask if you were watching the Chunin exam preliminary fights? Hiashi nodded briefly. I have no desire to marry a woman that would use such a seal on her own twin. I find the practice of the caged bird seal disgraceful. I am adept enough at sealing that I could protect your precious dojutsu without enslaving my own family members. I decline for 3 reasons. The woman herself, the clan she is attached to, and I would never leave Kumo. I am honored by your request though. He conceded at the end to save face. Everyone on the council knew that they had just stepped in a giant pile of cow dung by making this offer, Fugaku included. Fugaku tried to salvage this mess. If you were given your pick, would that interest you? Hokage Dono, I am currently loved by 2 gorgeous and strong women. I do not go out of my way to court people. If it is the result of a diplomatic effort, I would do so for the betterment of Kumo. Damn, I wish we had this kid or someone else like him among our ranks. Chooser Akamaki said. You honor me, Akamaki-san. Naruto replied with a bow of his head. Hiashi decided to re-enter the conversation. You said you could replace the caged bird seal, where did you get such knowledge? Ruto looked to Shina, who took over. That is an easy solution. My clan's sealing knowledge far exceeds modern-day Fuinjutsu. We have been the best in the Fuinjutsu arts since the fall of Uzushiogakure. Then forgive me for asking, but why have we never heard of the Maki clan before 10 years ago? Koharu cut in. My clan chose to sit out of the clan wars, they chose to abstain from the village system, and they were nearly wiped out due to Western wars before I escaped and decided to join Kumo. I has been most gracious, and he took some of my proposals to heart. I will not tell you where my clan resided because it is none of your business, forgive my rudeness for saying so. Koharu was put in a tough situation and decided to just apologize. My apologies, Lady Shina. I did not mean to bring up bad memories. That is quite all right, Koharu-san. People of the elemental nations do not know much about the outlying nations. Fugaku coughed. Back to the proposal of deepening relations between Kumo and Konoha. If Ruto is unavailable, would Kumo be open to another marriage proposal? As I said before, Hokage Dono, I do not presume to make such decisions for the Raikage. We spoke pertaining to my son, but outside of that we have little to no say. Very well, I will discuss it with him when he arrives. That is all for today, you may go. Thank you for your time. Shina and Ruto bowed before leaving the room. Once they were gone, chaos descended upon the council room. Shouts rang out back and forth until order was finally restored. Fugaku asked Inoiki for his assessment. Hokage-sama, they have many reasons not to like us and very few reasons to negotiate with us. Both of them were telling the truth, maybe not the whole truth, but the truth, nonetheless. They saw the truth seals and stood right on them. That was deliberate on their part. Ruto is far stronger than he has shown us thus far. The way he handled this meeting tells me that he has been trained in the diplomatic arts. He was very proficient at giving just enough information to satisfy our requests. He also guided the flow of the conversation and intentionally dropped information bombs. I would assume that he is being groomed to be the next Raikage. Lady Shina is a terrifying unknown. For one woman to be able to affect a whole nation is incredible. This Maki clan seems to have ancestral knowledge that far exceeds our own. It is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. My final assessment for the council is that we must get on the good side of the Maki clan, or we will continue to fall further and further behind. And if you submit another marriage proposal, do not make it a Hyuga for the love of Kami. Hiashi scowled at this. Peasants cannot understand the inner workings of a great clan such as the Hyuga. Peasants. Did you not see how they comported themselves in front of a hostile council? Your pride blinds you, Hiashi-san. Hiruzen retorted. Danzo then asked a question that stumped the council. Why was Hiruzen the only one they treated with respect? The Wall of Fire, Danzo, a concept that you never understood. Your actions have sullied the great tree. I did everything I could, in the best way I knew how, to honor the Wall of Fire. They seemed to understand that. Fugaku spoke up. That is enough, you two. Hiruzen, you are to accept their offer after the exams, scout what information you can from Kumo and then we will analyze the prosthetic and attempt to replicate it. Fugaku, if you think they do not see 10 steps ahead of you, then you continue to underestimate them. They made that offer in front of this council instead of approaching me personally. Basically, they told me they could fix me up and they told Hiashi that his outdated clan custom is barbaric, and they have a better solution in hand already. It was a power flex. The rest of the council meeting was unintelligible dribble that gave every councillor a headache and sent them home in foul moods. 2 weeks into exam break, the Kumo teams were gathered in Team 12's room again. Naruto complained about it always being his room, but Kushina and Darui simply waved his protests off. They were discussing the plans for tonight and completing their preparations. Kushina took out the blood she had taken from Naruto, set it on a scroll in the middle of a seal and instructed Naruto to channel chakra into the seal. Naruto complied and watched with interest as another Naruto began to emerge out of the blood. It was truly a fascinating process, and it took quite a bit of chakra. When the process was complete, the clone looked around cluelessly before it locked eyes on its creator. One of the properties of chakra was chakra memory. It was the key component in learning jutsu to such proficiency that one could reduce the number of hand seals required to activate it. It was also the component of the shadow clone jutsu that allowed for the clone's memory to be returned to the creator. The blood clone used this process to create a copy of the individual that was in essence a near-perfect copy. The weakness of the blood clone was that it could not generate its own chakra. It would require regular chakra infusions from the original or else it would dissipate back into a bloody mist. If the original absorbed the blood clone, then she would absorb the memories of the clone. If the clone were to disperse away from the original, the memories would be lost. If the clone were to be killed, the body would remain until the chakra ran out and it dissipated. Kushina could supply a seal to prevent this, but it would not be needed for this mission. Naruto gave the blood clone basic instructions to act like him and enjoy the night out with his team. Team 12 was to go around town, establish a firm alibi for Naruto in case something went wrong, and then return to the hotel. Naruto would sneak in later in the night using his kitsune illusion, false invisibility, technique and reseal the blood clone until it was needed in the exam finals. If Ruto couldn't make it back to the room safely, he would meet the team at the training ground the following morning. The clone said he understood, and he took all of Naruto's gear and put it on. Naruto himself changed into a full-body black outfit with light refractive seals. Naruto then threw on the hood that completely obscured his sun-kissed blonde hair and hid his face. Naruto took 2 master sealing scrolls, which were much larger than standard scrolls, and sealed them into a pouch in his pants. He checked his Fuinjutsu kit and ensured that he had plenty of extra ink, brushes and scrolls before he attached it to his belt. He secured 2 nondescript kodakas in parallel over his back belt and practiced drawing them a couple of times. He finished the outfit by reducing his chakra signature as much as possible before his mother put chakra masking seals on the front and back of each arm, leg and torso. Once Naruto's preparations were complete, it was nearly 8 p.m. The group donned their masks and left through the door in their hotel room, which was under constant surveillance by 2 Anbu. Naruto followed the group out after activating the Kitsune illusion, false invisibility, technique. Shina followed behind the group and closed the door before activating the security seal. Naruto continued to stick with the group until they made it out of the hotel. It was useful to use them as barriers to ensure somebody didn't randomly bump into him. Once outside, the group headed toward the commercial district and Naruto noticed the 2 Anbu following his group. He waited in an alley next to the hotel, completely invisible and still for 5 minutes. Once he was sure nobody saw him, he began a slow and careful trek toward the clan district. His mother cautioned him that the chakra masking seals would prevent the Byakugan from detecting him, but if a Hyuga were to look at him directly, they would be able to make out a human figure. Thus, Naruto took his time and walked cautiously toward the clan district, always steering clear of any Hyuga. The Uzumaki compound was next to the abandoned Senju compound. The Hyuga compound was on the other side of the Senju compound and up a small hill, so it wasn't rare for the Hyuga to walk by the Uzumaki compound. Naruto waited outside the gate to the Uzumaki compound until he was 100% sure that nobody else was around. At 9:30 p.m., he put some blood on the seal array of the Uzumaki gates and pulsed his chakra in a specific pattern. The seal clicked and Naruto slid the gate open just far enough for his body to fit through before closing the gate softly. He made his way into his old home and dropped his Kitsune illusion to preserve chakra and rest his coils. He channeled some of his yokai to his eyes, which made them glow a blood red and gave him near-perfect night vision. Naruto went through each room, securing photos, mementos, scrolls, weapons, kunai and anything else his mother left behind when she made her hasty escape. Naruto saw the rotting corpse of the rotten civilian woman and used a small fire jutsu followed by a wind jutsu to get rid of the body. He dealt with the rotten smell that pervaded throughout the house as he completed his tasks. Naruto sealed his mother's old rocking chair, thinking that she would enjoy having it again back in Kumo. He sealed up a picture of his father that hung over the fireplace. As a kid he just thought that his mom was honoring the 4th Hokage. After he sealed his old man's picture, he kicked himself for being stupid and summoned 20 shadow clones to help him get the house packed up. He let the clones take the main floor and the bedrooms so that he could focus his efforts on the basement. He disarmed a blood seal that protected the basement door before he opened it and went down. His mother had packed up the Master Scroll for the Uzumaki clan's Konoha branch. She left a number of scrolls and books in the basement library, which Naruto focused on sealing away. A small armory was also in his mother's study, so he sealed away the weapons and weapon maintenance supplies that were there. As Naruto looked at the mostly empty basement, he said goodbye to his old home. He rejoined his clones on the main floor, took the sealing scrolls from them and then sealed the scrolls into the Uzumaki Master Scroll. Naruto then dismissed the shadow clones, processed their memories before locking up the old house. He changed the Master Seal array to remote detonate when he pulsed the series of chakra frequencies before turning and heading back toward the gate. He took a deep breath, engaged his Kitsune illusion and got ready for the hard part of this mission. Naruto successfully avoided detection during his exfil from the Uzumaki compound and he proceeded on his route toward the Namikaze compound. It was already 11 p.m., so Anbu patrols were his main concern at this time of night. He stuck to the shadows and moved slowly through the clan district. The Namikaze compound was tucked away in between the clan district and the Hokage mountain. Naruto took the long way around to avoid the Nara deer, the aberrane bugs and the Inuzuka kennels. It added 20 minutes to his trip, but it was worth avoiding detection. Eventually, at 12:30 am, Naruto got near the front gates of the Namikaze compound. He checked with tiny chakra pulses to make sure that he was alone before he proceeded. After sensing nobody, Naruto activated his kitsune eyes and saw that there were a couple seals laid out in front of the gate. Looking closer, Naruto noticed an alarm seal, a couple paralysis seals, and the remnants of a barrier seal. Naruto could also tell there had been many attempts to tamper with the security seal at the front gate. Naruto created a counter seal to the alarm seal and slapped it on. He stepped in between the paralysis seals, figuring that disengaging them may give him away. He finally made it to the security seal on the front gate at 12:45 am. Naruto pulsed his chakra again to ensure he was alone before he cut his thumb, smeared blood on the seal and poured some chakra in. The gate clicked open and allowed Naruto entry. Before he resealed the gate, he created a shadow clone that transformed into a bird that rested on a light pole across the street from the Namikaze compound. The Namikaze compound was much larger than the Uzumaki compound. The Namikaze clan was a wealthy merchant clan that should still carry great weight in Fire Country. Unfortunately, Naruto was denied his birthright, which led him to needing to infiltrate his father's old home. Learning from his previous mistake, Naruto created 200 shadow clones to sweep the various houses within the compound. He didn't have enough sealing scrolls to give one to each clone, so he divided the clones into squads and gave scrolls to the squad captains. The clones split off to go to the 20 or so houses that resided on the Namikaze grounds. Naruto himself took the main house that belonged to his father. He entered and saw pictures of his father and his mother hung up in the walkway. He created 20 more clones and asked them to help seal up everything inside. His mother told him the most important stuff would be in his father's study and training ground, which was underground. To get to the study, Naruto had to disarm 3 separate security seal arrays. It was quite extensive, but he finally made it into his father's study around 130 am. His father's study was a mess compared to his mother's study in the Uzumaki compound. There were papers laid out everywhere, shelves lined every wall of the study and random papers covered the floor. Naruto knew he was already running late, so he started heaping things into the storage seals. He used one regular storage seal per shelf and soon realized he would run out. He pulled out his kit, created another 20 clones and had each clone make one enhanced storage seal. The clones were finished in 5 minutes, and they began helping Naruto seal up every bit of work his father ever did. Naruto went to the training room as his clones were finishing up in the study. There were racks of assorted weapons, a very detailed seal array covered the room and Naruto could identify a couple of the seals used: gravity augmentation seal, self-repair seal, projectile speed settings, target training variation, an elaborate genjutsu seal. Naruto really wanted to copy the seal down, but he didn't have enough time for that. Instead, he sealed away the weapons and the numerous 3-pronged kunais. He even decided to seal away the training dummies. He really didn't want to leave anything in Konoha. Before Naruto left his father's study, he realized that he hadn't found the Master Scroll of the Namikaze clan yet. He activated his kitsune eyes and scanned his father's study, looking closely for any residual chakra, any hidden seal, anything that would provide a clue to finding his father's scroll. He got incredibly frustrated before he tore apart his father's desk, looking for some seal. When he found nothing, he sealed the whole desk away for review at a later time. This was not good. The knowledge of the Namikaze in enemy hands could spell bad, no horrendous, news for Kumo and the Uzumaki family. Naruto met a collection of clones outside of the door to his father's house and dispelled them one by one, checking through the information to see if any of them had found the Master Scroll. His mother had told him that the scroll was almost 5 feet tall, nearly 2 feet in diameter, and it was embossed in a beautiful black and gold. Searching through the memories, Naruto was frustrated yet again. He would have to talk to his mother about this, but he couldn't remain here any longer. It was 330 am and the sun would begin its climb soon. Thinking on his feet, Naruto created 100 clones and left some basic sealing supplies. Okay guys, my time is up. I need you all to look for the Master Scroll, any hidden seals and anything else of potential use. The security barrier is active, so you don't need to worry about people seeing you. Be extremely thorough, I put quite a bit of chakra into each of you. When you are about to dispel, make sure anything you found is handed off properly. Store your scrolls in a safe location and make sure you transmit that memory to me clearly. Yes, boss, was the reply he received before the clones scattered. Naruto engaged the Kitsune illusion in front of the gates and dispelled his clone that was outside. Reviewing the most recent memories, he had 20 minutes before the Anbu patrol passed again and nobody was outside. He opened the gate and resealed it, stepped around the paralysis seals and placed an identical alarm seal where he disarmed the previous one. Then he snuck away from the clan compounds and made his way to his team's designated training ground. He walked through the barrier and found a nice branch to get some shut-eye in. Ruto was awoken by the soft voices of his teammates as they entered the barrier. He looked down on them fondly before hopping down from the tree. Hey guys, sorry that I had to call an audible, he said while scratching the back of his head nervously. Ruto, Mabui and Samui said in tandem as they rushed over to give him a hug. The clone scratched the back of its head nervously now. Well, what am I? Chopped liver. Everyone gave the blood clone wry looks, and he began pouting. It was truly interesting how the increased longevity of a blood clone tended to let it have a personality of its own. Before diving into anything else, Naruto sealed up the blood clone in a stasis scroll and promised that he would be let out soon. The blood clone nodded reluctantly, stripped its gear and accepted its admittedly sad role in life. Tayuya, Samui, Mabui and even Kushina blushed as the clone, which possessed the same body as Naruto, shamelessly stripped. After that business was handled, Naruto told the group about his mission. Sochi, if your father's master scroll was not in the Namikaze compound, then it must be somewhere in the Hokage office. The secondary mission just became that much more important. Well, was the collective thought of everyone in the training ground. Is it possible that it is already in Konoha's possession? Omoy asked, ever the paranoid member of the group. That would be absolutely worst case scenario. If Fugaku didn't change the lock sequence on the Hokage vault, I will be able to crack that open. If he did, that would create a whole new list of problems. Even with our expertise, seals of that caliber take time to break down and find ways through. Especially since that seal was originally designed by the Uzumaki. Well, if it is our original design, then it is unlikely they tampered with it, Ka-chan. They think that you are dead, and you would have been the only one capable of breaking such a seal. Naruto said. Yeah, Ka-chan, these have been overconfident the whole way through. I have seen no indication that they know about the invasion. We will have to fight in the Hokage Tower, but we should be able to handle these chumps. Tayuya chipped in. Okay, Sochi, what you did get is still important. Let's send those scrolls to the Eagles for safekeeping for the time being. We can take our time searching through them when we are back in Kumo. Without needing to be told twice, Naruto flipped through hand seals and summoned a dog-sized eagle that was wearing glasses and an orange scarf that wrapped around its neck a couple of times. Hey Penny, how are you doing? Very well, Naruto-sama. Thank you for asking. What can I do for you today? Penny responded. Well, I would like you to safeguard these two Master Scrolls until we are able to return to Kumo. Think you could do that for me? Of course, Naruto-sama. It will be done. Naruto unsealed some beef jerky and tossed it up in the air. Penny eagerly snapped it out of the air and gobbled it up. I must say, Naruto-sama, it is wonderful to have a summoner again. You are far better than our previous summoner though. That George Washington was a good enough man, but he never offered us snacks the way you do. Naruto laid the two scrolls down in front of Penny and rubbed the side of her neck, just below her beak. Thanks for that, Penny. I will talk to you again in a month or so when we are back in Kumo. The eagle stepped forward and secured the scrolls in her talons before disappearing back to her summon realm. Naruto returned to the group and joined the conversation. That sand team was truly unique. Who knew Gaara could have a sense of humor? Aroy said while laughing at the memory. You got the mentally unstable Jinchuriki drunk? Naruto asked incredulously. Yeah, it was hilarious. You should have seen it, Naruto. Oh wait, I guess you kinda did, but you don't have those memories. Gets really confusing keeping track with those blood clones. Aroy answered with a confused look on his face. Yeah, I think I like your clone better than you. He slammed 4 bottles of sake on his own, drank that freaky puppet guy under the table. Samui and Mabui nearly beat the S out of him when he K the sand kunoiki too. Tayuya was enjoying the increasing look of sheer horror on Naruto's face. Why didn't you guys stop him? Naruto asked, still dumbfounded by the revelations. He now had serious reservations about letting him out during the invasion. Relax, Sochi, no real damage was done. Don't worry about it, Ruto-kun. We know it was the clone and not you. Mabui reassured him. Yeah, it was not cool, but it wasn't your fault. Samui added before pulling Naruto into a K. Naruto pulled out of the K and looked at his mother. Did he accept the offer? Yes, Sochi. He will be coming here later today for additions to his seal. I have given him a biju suppression seal. The tanuki was really unhappy about trusting us and letting us work on his seal. That reminds me, we will need a clear space to work and set extra barriers up so the Anbu outside will not feel the biju chakra. Do you have any sealing supplies left? Yup. I resupplied out of Dad's study. Which one do you want me to handle? Naruto replied cheerfully. Take the barriers, you are more proficient at them than I am now. Chakra masking, biju suppression and a double-layered vacuum seal should work. What the actual F is a vacuum seal? Tayuya asked. Are you sure you are an Uzumaki sis? Stuck on level 5 for a full year is kinda embarrassing. Naruto ribbed her. Tayuya rolled up her sleeve and balled her fist in her best impression of Tsunade. She attempted to slug Naruto in the shoulder, but a massive hand on her forehead stopped her from getting in range. She swung her short arms but came up almost a full foot short. Everyone laughed at the sibling scenario playing out in front of them. Little sister, a vacuum seal is a barrier combo that sucks the air out in between 2 barriers and eliminates the possibility of electronic or heat transference in between the 2 barriers. In short, even if Shukaku gets a little bit out of control, they won't be able to feel it outside of the barrier. Naruto explained for the group. Get a move on, Sochi, the sand team will be here any minute now. Kushina's motherly chiding spurred Naruto to let go of Tayuya's head and walk off. Kami damn tall F.S. treating my like some scrawny child. Tayuya's ranting faded off as the group's laughter intensified. Darui shook his head. I still don't know how we got wrapped up with you troublesome Uzumakis. I mean, I have never loved someone I wanted to punch in the face so much before. Yeah, they are simultaneously cool and infuriating, but that is why we love them. Samui added with a beautiful, genuine smile on her face. 30 minutes later, the Sand Sibs and their Jonin sensei arrived at the edge of the barrier. Ruto sensed 4 Anbu watching them like a hawk. He looked at the spot each Anbu was hiding and waved to them, which was a slap in the face to any professional ninja with an ounce of pride. Hey Agara, sorry about last night. Did you get some sleep with that suppression seal? Ruto asked with a merry tone. Gaara simply nodded and replied in monotone. The alcohol helped me fall asleep and I haven't heard mother since I used the seal. Is this what it will be like with my new seal? Ruto chuckled. Yeah buddy, except you will be able to talk to Shukaku and realize he is not your mother. I will take you in to meet him before we adjust the seal. Not to mention, you will be able to use your Biju chakra and sand manipulation with this new seal instead of locking all your chakra away. That would be nice. Gaara said with a flitter of a smile. Yeah, little brother, except I won't be there every morning to drag you out of bed. Kankuro tried to poke fun, but it fell flat. Kankuro, my chakra may be momentarily sealed away, but insult me again and I will kill you. Mother always did want your blood. Gaara's monotone somehow carried more menace even though it was almost identical to his previous tones. Kankuro hid behind Temari. Gaara, our brother was not insulting you. It is called making a joke, a rather light-hearted one at that. We care about you and are glad you could sleep, but we had to get here for the sealing. Temari said cautiously before looking at Ruto and blushing furiously. Very well, Kankuro, your joke was very funny. Ha, ha, ha. Ruto decided to take a step away from the Jinchuriki bordering on the slimmest edge of insanity. He cast an apologetic look at the sand kunoiki under his mask, but he would need to talk to them about that later. Ruto let the group walk toward Lady Sheena and he went to the seal he had prepared. He infused chakra into the seal and a black dome covered the field and they were enshrouded in total darkness before the sunlight returned. Sorry about that, just setting up a barrier. One more time, and we are done. Baki looked nervously at Sheena. Lady Sheena, why are you helping us with the seal for free? I am grateful for your services, and I know Gaara wants to sleep, but I must ask why. Sheena put a finger to her bottom lip, or over her mask where her bottom lip would be. Well, I guess it would be because my Sochi asked me to. That a good enough reason. Gaara turned and looked at Ruto. Ruto-san, why do you wish to help me? Ruto shrugged, let's just say I understand your situation. I couldn't imagine what it is like to have a crazy being with direct access to your thoughts, who can push thoughts into your head and who has convinced you that it is your mother. On top of that, the thing is bloodthirsty and won't let you catch a wink of sleep. Call it a favor or whatever you will, but maybe I am doing it to help a future friend. Friend. The word seemed so foreign to Gaara. He had never had a friend, never had a mother, wished he never had a father, and his siblings were kept apart from him until they were too terrified to interact with him. He was having a hard time wrapping his mind around the concept of friendship. Yeah, you know, somebody that takes the time to get to know you, shoots the S with you, helps you out from time to time. You see each other every now and then and it just feels natural when you slide right back into how things used to be. That kind of thing. The simple nonchalance of Ruto's attitude set the Suna team at ease. Baki decided to try again. I have not been able to reach the Kazekage. I believe it would be best to wait to do this until a more suitable party is here to complete negotiations. Sheena stood up from her crouch after inspecting the ceiling circle. Afraid not, Baki. This is a one-time offer. I simply do not wish to have a partially insane Jinchuriki handing over to control to a totally insane Biju when you guys put on your little sideshow. Every Suna ninja's eye widened before they took defensive postures. Sheena and Ruto remained calm and kept working while the Kumo teams took defensive stances. Calm down, now. Ruto finally used a forceful tone and exerted some ki. The snake approached Kumo and asked us to join in. We refused, but we are no friends of the leaf. I still wish to help Gaara and these barrier seals I have set up take a lot of chakra. Please either leave or let us help him. Make the choice now. Ruto's playful tone was gone and replaced with a deadly serious one. The Sand team now looked hesitant, except for Gaara. Baki, if you speak again, I will kill you. Mother wanted your blood most of all. In fact, go sit over there and leave me alone. My siblings will watch after my safety. Go. Baki scurried away to go sit by a tree while Kankuro and Temari were shocked that Gaara called them siblings. Okay, Gaara-kun. Good and shirt off please, we will need to paint the new seal directly onto your body. Sheena's voice was calm and reassuring. Gaara followed her instructions and found himself lying supine in the center of a complex sealing matrix. Ruto and Sheena hovered over Gaara before Ruto told him what he was about to do. Okay, Gaara, I am going to go into your mindscape with you. Due to the nature of your seal, there will be no separation between us and Shukaku. If I have to rough him up a bit, I will. Before we go in, I need you to promise me that anything you see in there will remain between the two of us. I am going out on a limb and choosing to trust you. Gaara nodded, you have my word Ruto-san. I wish to understand this, friend, concept better. Gaara then closed his eyes as he felt a warm hand placed on his head. When Gaara opened his eyes, he was in an expansive desert with winds blowing forcefully along the desertscape. Ruto appeared to his right next to a beautiful woman dressed in red with fox ears and 9 tails. The Kitsune woman looked at Gaara and put a slim finger up to her lips. Gaara nodded dumbly before the ground of the mindscape started shaking. A great tanuki made of sand with dull brown coloring and purplish-black seal markings on its body came to a clumsy halt in front of the trio. Diamond-shaped, beady golden eyes bore down on the much smaller trio before a shrill voice filled the domain. Leave. You are not welcome here. Shukaku's shriek made Ruto debate if it was more annoying than Sakura's. He shelved that thought for later debate. Shukaku, I recommend you sit there and calm down. I do not wish to get rough with you, but I will if necessary. Ruto's tone was calm yet threatening. A puny human can do nothing to us Biju. Shukaku screeched. Oh really, little brother? Care to make a wager on that? The red-haired vixen's taunting tone reached the great tanuki and gained the fully attention of the beady golden eyes. Kyubi, so that is how this child entered my domain. Regardless, you will leave. The tanuki tried forcing them out of the mindscape and failed miserably. It was forced to concede, so it asked, "What wager? If you can best my vessel, we will leave and let you finish your tormenting of this poor soul. If my vessel bests you, you cooperate with the sealing. The new seal will allow for some much-needed separation and allow both of you to get some much-needed sleep. You think your brat can stand against me? Very well, Fox, I accept your wager." The sand tanuki turned its full attention toward Ruto. "I am the great Shukaku, Ichibi and protector of the desert. Come and offer your blood to me." Ruto encased himself in stage 2 lightning armor and blurred forward before the lumbering tanuki could react. Ruto unsheathed Heaven's blessing, and encased it in copious amounts of lightning chakra. Before the tanuki knew what hit it, it collapsed forward because both of its front legs were severed. As the sand rushed to the severed appendages to reform them, Shukaku let out a mighty roar accompanied with a blunt blast of wind. The wind forced Ruto back nearly 20 feet before he skidded to a halt. When the legs were nearly reformed, Ruto hunched over, and 10 thick chakra chains sheathed in lightning and tipped with arrowheads pierced the sand tanuki. One chain wrapped around Shukaku's neck and pulled the massive head down to the sand. 2 chains pierced and wrapped around each of the tanuki's legs while the last chain pierced through the tail before wrapping it up. Once the tanuki was completely immobilized, Ruto focused on upping the lightning chakra. The tanuki screeched in pain and horror as pain racked its whole body. The electricity caused the sand to crumble and made the giant beast unable to repair its wounds with the desert sands. Shukaku lay face down on the desert floor with his legs splayed open and tail completely immobilized. Along with the lightning chakra, it felt like his own yokai was being drained at a considerable rate. Okay, you win. I will let you redo the seal, and I will spare Gaara. The shocking sensation ceased as Ruto walked up to the tanuki's immobilized head and removed his mask. Powerful azure blue eyes shined an electric blue as they looked into the beady golden orbs of the tanuki. Shukaku, if you agree to work with Gaara for the rest of his life, I will make you a promise. I am working on restoring portals to Makai. When I succeed, I will ensure your safe return to the demonic realm upon Gaara's natural death if you work alongside him. Shukaku was stunned. It was unbelievable. Not only was he beaten by a human boy, but the same human offered him the thing he wanted most in this world. After centuries of subjugation and being trapped in a cursed teapot, his salvation was so close. The tanuki swallowed the sand equivalent to a lump in its throat before responding. I accept if you answer me why you are doing this. Ruto looked back at Hikari, who was standing there with an enchanting smirk on her face as her 9 regal tails swished behind her. Well, I made a promise to my future mate, and you are a sibling, of sorts, to her. Humans will never coexist peacefully with the Biju, so I want to end this cycle. That a good enough answer for you? The sand tanuki nodded and it was released from the chains that bound it. You have a deal, Ruto Maki. On the honor of the tanuki tribe, I will work alongside this petty mortal for as long as he shall live. I expect you to hold up your end of the bargain. A beautiful voice cut across the sands. My mate is an honorable Hanyu. He will live up to his word or die trying. Shukaku, it was good to see you again, but we must be leaving. Gaara, my mate has trusted you with quite a bit of revealing information about himself. I expect you to protect that information. The price for failing to do so will be your soul. Gaara nodded before the 3 phased out of the mindscape, leaving an exhausted tanuki. Outside of the mindscape, things weren't so calm. Ruto's transformation failed as an explosion of power ripped through the barrier. Everyone inside watched on in shock as a third blonde tail forced its way out of Ruto's pants and blonde ears with white interiors appeared on his head. The sand team's jaws hit the grass and Baki was gawking while pointing a finger at the blonde. Well, Ruto-kun, congratulations are in order. It seems like the yokai you absorbed from Shukaku was enough to finish growing your 3rd tail. That increase in yokai also seems to have shattered the kitsune transformation, so you will have to deal with the sand kiddos now. Oh, I can't wait to get back to Kumo. Hikari's gleeful voice sounded through the mental link. Ruto scratched the back of his neck sheepishly as he turned to look at Temari, Kankuro and Baki. So, can we keep this our little secret? If not, I am afraid we will need to modify your memories a bit. Kankuro and Temari nodded. She looked like she wanted to run over and pet him but managed to restrain herself. Baki continued gawking and pointing his finger. Sashina appeared behind him and knocked him out. I am not leaving that to chance with him. I will remove the memories of this whole day and let the Sand Sibs provide a cover story. Gaara, Kankuro and Temari simply nodded. Sheena stood up and clapped her hands together to get everyone's attention. Okay, first things first, we get Gaara's seal tidied up. Second, we send you kids back to your hotel room to get some sleep. Last, we work on a seal to soak up this residual yokai, so Konoha doesn't figure out our secret. She walked back over to Gaara and put him to sleep with some medical chakra. The Uzumaki duo then worked in tandem to surround Gaara's seal with a Uzumaki-style 4-trigoms seal. The kanji that made up the seal array glowed blue and swirled around Gaara until it condensed down into kanji that spread across Gaara's skin. The kanji continued to tighten around the old seal until 4 distinct points were seen around a circular interior filled with waves. Gaara remained unconscious for 2 hours as Ruto worked to absorb the excess yokai that was contained within the barrier. Ruto then had to focus to reapply the kitsune transformation and hide his tails and ears, much to the consternation of the women in the barrier. Once they were ready to move out, they dropped the vacuum barriers and bid farewell to the Sand team. When questioned by the ANBU, they were told that team spars were a great form of preparation. The Anbu made note of this but couldn't push any further. They did notice that Ruto's chakra was beginning to break through the chakra masking seals on his uniform and they shivered when they felt its potency. Upon making it back to the hotel, Ruto slept for 32 hours straight. His mother and girlfriends doted on him, but he remained in a peaceful sleep. Internally, Hikari had woken him up after his first 18 or so hours of sleep. After ravaging him for an hour or two, she began instructing him. Ruto, when it comes to tails, each tail is not equal. For instance, if we say your first tail made you a 10 on the power scale, then your second made you around a 35 or so. Your third tail puts you around 90 if I were to guess and continue that power scale. It represents a massive difference, and it will require similarly massive control. Got it, Hikari-chan, more clones to get my control back to normal. That's not it, Ruto-kun. You will also have to focus on suppressing your passive aura more. Those seals your mom uses can only hide so much yokai. Use the remainder of this downtime to really suck it in and get it under control. I am proud of you, Ruto. Every day you do something to prove to me once again that I made the right choice. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck in his typical fashion. Ah, shucks, Hikari-chan, that's nice of you to say. I am simply devoted to impressing one of the most beautiful beings in this universe. I love you, Ri-chan. The red-headed beauty ed an eyebrow. Ri-chan. What? You don't like it? I thought it was cute and it could be what I call you when you are out of the seal, since you are so protective of your real name. The kitsune beauty seemed to think for a bit before a smile graced her lips. Actually, I kinda like it. It is casual and flirty. Okay, I will permit you to call me Ri-chan, Ruto-kun. Naruto's gigawatt smile put all the warm and fuzzies in Hikari's chest. Great, so, what can I do with the third tail? Aside from let me out? She asked with a raised eyebrow. Well, you should theoretically be able to use kitsune fire techniques. I know you don't have a natural fire affinity, but I think teaching you some basic kitsune kaiten techniques should be possible. I would recommend shelving that until we return home though. Ah, yeah, I guess that would be best. Any tips on suppressing my aura further? Meditation, Ruto-kun. A whole lot of meditation to slow your flow. Hikari answered with a divine smirk on her face as her mate groaned. For now, why don't you enjoy my company and worry about that later? That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.